Hey guys, so today I thought I would share with you what is on my race calendar for 2025. Now you guys, if you've watched the last video, you know that I ran the AJC Peachtree Polar Opposite 10K in Atlanta, Georgia on January the 4th. So that's one race down for the year. But let me tell you what else I have going on for 2025. Now, I try to plan my race calendar for the next year in the quarter before. And so I really started planning my race calendar for 2025 in 2024, right around October, November-ish time frame. And I try to be sure that I have an idea of all of the races that I want to run by the first part of December. A lot of the races that I do, I have to travel for. And so I really like to be able to plan ahead because you got to not only register for the race, but you also have to buy airline tickets or train tickets. You got to get the hotel. And so you really kind of have to plan out for certain things. And so I'm going to show you the races that I have coming up. And this is the Countdown app. And I really like the Countdown app because I plug in the event and it tells me how many more days I have to go for that. And I found this, this was a tip that I found on a running Facebook page. Somebody posted a photo from their Countdown app and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to use that. Now I use the free version, but there is a paid version as well. So what you're seeing is a free version of the app. So I already have the one race down for the year. So my next race is the Rock and Roll DC 5K. This is the Rock and Roll sponsored event here in the DC area. You see it's coming up in 48 days, Saturday, March the 15th. So I will be running the 5K. Now I've done this race before. I ran this 5K maybe 3 years or so ago. And I've also run the half marathon. They have the half marathon as well as the 5K. So many years ago, I ran the half marathon. So this year, I'm going to run the 5K. My next half marathon that's coming up, and I have these color coded, by the way. So my 5Ks are in green and my half marathons are in yellow. So my first half marathon I have coming up for the year is actually the Philly Love half marathon in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's coming up Sunday, March the 30th. So 63 days left for that. That is the one that I'm actively training for. So the training plan that I'm following right now takes me right up to the half marathon on March the 30th. I have not run this half marathon before. I am attempting to run a half marathon in every state. And so this will be my first half marathon in the state of Pennsylvania. So that is why this one is on my race calendar for this year, because I'm really attempting one in every state. And I had to get Pennsylvania, and it's close to me being in the DC area. So I said, why not? Let's go for it. Then after that, I have the Cherry Blossom 5K, which is another DC based event. I did run this 5K last year. They actually have a 5K and a 10 miler. The 5K is on Saturday, the 10 miler is on Sunday. This year, I'm only doing the 5K. I actually enjoyed the 5K more than I did the 10 miler last year. The 10 miler had so many people. It was such a crowded field. And the race, the path that you race on was so narrow that it was just really crowded the entire time. So while I would have enjoyed running the 10 miler this year, I just didn't want to go through that again. It was just way too crowded for me. I really enjoyed the 5K. So I am really training for speed for this particular 5K race because I want to beat my 5K time. I actually got a PR, 5K PR. I got a 5K under 30 minutes last year at this Cherry Blossom 5K. So my goal this year is to beat my time at this same race. All right, so then after that, I have the Alexandria Half 13.1 on Sunday, April 27th. This one's 91 days away. Now, this one is in the state of Virginia. I have run a half marathon in the state of Virginia, so this one won't count towards, this won't be a new state added for my 50 states challenge. but this one is actually a new half marathon. They used to run a 10 miler in this area, and it used to be a point to point. And so last year I really wanted to run the race, but in my mind I couldn't figure out the logistics of this point to point race. And so I ended up not doing the race. Well, this year they changed it to a half marathon, and it's an out and back. And while I don't really like out and backs, I will do an out and back. And I really wanted to run this route. They say it's a very, very nice route, very scenic. And so this is one of the ways that I get to run the route, since you know, I couldn't figure out the point to point 10 miler, and they no longer have it. It's only the half marathon. So that is my second half marathon for the year, and actually looks like it's my last half marathon for the year. I have a purple reminder on my countdown for marathon training. Let me tell you about this. So last year I signed up for and ran a marathon in November. Well, everybody was talking about the Chicago Marathon, you know, leading right up to my marathon in November. The Chicago Marathon is in October. The year before that, 2023, I entered the Chicago Marathon lottery and I didn't get in. And so this year, I decided I was going to get in no matter what. This is that whole fear of missing out thing that us runners fuel ourselves on. And so I decided I was going to get into the Chicago Marathon no matter what. I signed up on a charity bib for the Chicago Marathon. Now, the Chicago Marathon will be my second marathon, and I signed up for it, and I hadn't even run the first marathon yet. So how crazy is that? But I am running the Chicago Marathon this year on a charity bib. And so marathon training starts June the 8th. I have 133 days left. So I got 133 days to complain about starting marathon training, and then I start marathon training. My next race is after the Alexandria Half, is going to be the AJC Peachtree Road Race. Now this is the 10K road race that is held in Atlanta on July 4th every year. It's the largest 10K race in the world. And when they did the polar opposite race in January this year, they had a bundle package where you could sign up for both races. And so that's what I did. I signed up for both races. So I'm running the race in reverse, the race course in reverse, in July. And so I'm looking forward to that because I get to go back to Atlanta. Okay, so that race is 159 days from now, and again, it's in July. After that, like I said, I have the Chicago Marathon, and I have that marked in red. So my marathons on this list are marked in red. Chicago Marathon 26.2 is Sunday, October 12th, 2025, and I have 259 days left. I'm so excited to run the Chicago Marathon. I've heard nothing but great things about it. It's a world major, so I get to say not only is it my second marathon, but it is my first world major marathon, so I'm really excited about that. Then after that, I have a question mark here on my countdown because the 50th running of the Marine Corps Marathon is October 26, 2025. And this race is 2 weeks after the Chicago Marathon. It's another full marathon, 26.2 miles. And that one is, like I said, 2 weeks after Chicago. I was a guaranteed entry for this marathon last year because I ran the Marine Corps 10K race. And, you know, they gave you a few days to sign up for the 26.2 race in 2025. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, at that point I hadn't even ran my first marathon. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not going to sign up for another marathon not knowing how I feel about the first marathon. But of course, you know, I signed up for Chicago. But, you know, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I let that window of opportunity close. Well, now I realize that that probably was a mistake because it's the 50th running. And so now if I want to get in, there's probably going to be a lottery because there's going to be so many people that want to run the 50th running of this race. And so I'm having a bit of fear of missing out again. You know, even though I'm running Chicago 2 weeks before, I'm kind of like, can I run the marathon another marathon 2 weeks later? How will I feel? Now, I know how I felt after my first marathon last year. There was no way you were ever going to talk me into running a second marathon 2 weeks later. I didn't even run for the first few days after that marathon. And so I'm like, there's just no way that I can run a second marathon 2 weeks later. And now I'm like, can I? So I have it on my calendar, just as a reminder. I have question marks there because I'm just kind of like, do I really want to do that to myself? You know, when the registration opens again, I'll see how I feel at that point and whether or not, you know, I want to risk spending money to register for the race and then may or may not run it. So that is 273 days away. I think the registration probably opens in late January, early February, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so we'll see. So as of right now, my last race of the year is the Chicago Marathon. I may or may not attempt the Marine Corps Marathon. Last year and the year before last, I did the Marine Corps Marathon Turkey Trot, and that is in November. And I may end up running the Turkey Trot. They have a 1 miler and then they do a 10K as well. That's not on my calendar because I haven't signed up for it. I'm not really committed to it right now in my head. Like, I've done it 2 years in a row. The first year I did the 10K. Last year when I did the 1 miler and the 10K. That's a whole nother story. But the 1 miler started 30 minutes before the 10K did. So I ended up doing both. But you know, this year I'm just not sure if I want to do it again. You know, I might, just simply because now I feel like it's kind of a tradition. But also I'm like, maybe I want to, you know, venture out and try a different turkey trot at the end of the year. So remains to be seen. So that is my calendar for the year. 2 5Ks, 2 10Ks, 2 half marathons, and 1, potentially 2 marathons. We will see. I am looking forward to race season this year without a doubt. If you like this video, take a moment and give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what other type of running videos you like to see from me. What would you like for me to share about my running journey with you? If you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment, hit the subscribe button. I love to have you here as part of the community. Take care and happy running.